A school teacher who worked in both the Spring Lake Park and St. Francis school districts is under investigation for producing child pornography.
David Harrell was employed by the Northeast Metro Intermediate School District 916 and was contracted to work in both St. Francis and Spring Lake Park. The investigation into Harrell started in mid-May after a report of inappropriate behavior.
Allegedly, a person saw the teacher with a young student on his lap, which is not appropriate behavior for a teacher. That caused the school district to place him on suspension. Their technology coordinator in St. Francis then began looking at his school computer and saw, thousands of images, most of them including students, some of which raised a concern to the school district, and they then contacted the sheriff's office.
According to Commander Summer, the images found on Harrell's computer would be classified as child pornography. The images included children that Harrell had access to in his position as a teacher, and it appears other images were downloaded from the internet. Harrell worked with students who were deaf and/or blind, but was reportedly well liked by all students.
I think he had access to, many other students. I think he was popular and known by many of the students in the schools.
Harrell has no criminal history and underwent a complete background check prior to being hired by District 916. According to witness statements, Harrell showed no signs that he would allegedly be involved in this type of activity.
Unfortunately, in this case, there was nothing absolutely that would be a red flag with this individual. He had no criminal history, no tendencies that anybody knew about, and the children themselves didn't even know they were being victimized. So it's not something where you could encourage your kids to tell because they themselves didn't even know anything was happening to them.
He was arrested after the initial report in mid-May, but he was released to allow detectives more time to build their case. The sheriff's office contacted any students they believed to be victims, and then this week the school districts notified all parents of the investigation. The investigation is ongoing and is expected to be wrapped up and turned over to the county attorney's office for charges within the next 2 weeks.
In another case this week, Anoka County Sheriff deputies were dispatched to a home on 137th Lane Northwest in Andover on a report of a possible house fire. When they arrived on the scene, they discovered the house was not on fire, but something else was.
We had gotten the call of the possible fire was about 9:40 p.m. When deputies arrived, there was some smoke coming out of the home, but they quickly realized that the home was not on fire. There was an individual inside, a 55-year-old male who was severely burned. Witnesses at the scene indicated they saw the homeowner, suspect, fleeing in his vehicle at a high rate of speed, and the investigation quickly, brought up the allegation that the victim was doused with some sort of an accelerant and lit on fire.
The victim, Scott Yorick, was rushed to the burn unit at HCMC with third-degree burns covering 80% of his body. He was initially in critical condition, but he died approximately 24 hours later. The victim was renting a room at the home in Andover, and police have the landlord, Adam Lilienthal, in custody after finding him en route to his cabin in northern Minnesota. Authorities believe the dispute between the two men was over rent money.
The prior dispute was apparently over money, and the landlord believing he had monies owed by the renter, and the renter and he trying to work something out. The landlord was advised on the proper civil procedures for eviction, things like that, and he apparently wasn't satisfied with that.
This is not the first time law enforcement has had contact with the 29-year-old Lilienthal.
Now, the landlord has had many contacts with law enforcement over the years, and he does have a criminal history.
Lilienthal's criminal history includes convictions for drugs, theft, property damage, disorderly conduct, and more. He is currently being held in the Anoka County Jail without bail.
A 16-year-old Anoka girl ran away from school a couple weeks ago, and police are asking for help finding her. Shaughnessy Walton was last seen on June 6th at Anoka High School. Authorities say that she has run away in the past, but has always been located by family or police shortly after leaving. Walton is white with brown hair and brown eyes. She is 5'7", weighs about 150 pounds, and has pierced ears. Anyone with any information about her is asked to call the Anoka Police Department at 763-427-1212.